All right, so let's decorate some cookies. So first of all, let's take a look at what we'll need for this project. So I've got my icing that I've prepared here. I've cut the tip and I'm going to start with my white icing. I have what's called a cookie scribe. I invested in a couple of these because I use it a lot. You can also use a toothpick and accomplish the same thing. I've got a couple of my cookies that I baked, and then I have some white sanding sugar. You can get it in multiple colors, but it's bigger than the normal sugar that you might bake with, and it's used for decorating. And then I have some of the sprinkles that are the little beads. All of these things you can find in the grocery store, Michael's, etc. But this is where you can kind of use your creativity and pick whatever you want. So I've stuck with some basic, simple things for purposes of our demonstration. So what we're going to do is start by outlining our cookie. So I have my bag, and what I have found is you might be able to see this is where the seam is from when we flattened our bag out. I usually try to decorate with that pointing down. That seems to give me a smoother flow. So what we're going to do, you'll notice I have my cookie upside down. I find I get a sharper point if I start at the point of the heart. So now we're going to outline our cookie. You'll get better results and have better control of it if you keep your icing lifted a bit from the surface of the cookie. You don't want to outline directly on the cookie. And then I'm going to start back up here to help with my point and go back around the other way. And now what I'm going to do is just kind of fill in around that. I'm gonna get a thin outline and just keep going. We don't want to go too thick. I'm gonna show you something else we're gonna do here next. So just keep outlining, fill in a little bit here around the edge. Now, one of the things that I found as a beginner was I struggled with my icing consistency and having my icing overflow the edges. So for this particular cookie, we're going to do a trick that will help you a little bit with that. So I'm going to take my outlined heart cookie and I'm going to dip it in my sanding sugar. So you just want to make sure that you put your sugar in a bowl big enough to dip your cookie in, and we're going to outline that way. Now what we're going to do is put this aside and let it dry for a few minutes before we come back and fill in and prepare our design. That's going to allow you a little more safety for moving your cookie around without disturbing it, and for preventing the icing to overflow. Now I'm going to try that again, and this time I'll dip it in the sprinkles. So once again, we're starting at the top. We're going to lift the bag a bit above the surface of the cookie. You may notice I support my hand, my icing hand, with my other hand. Most cookiers have some sort of technique like that, maybe rested against the edge of the table. And then now we're going to come back in and just fill in around the edge. You don't have to be very precise with this, and you may want to kind of, this is where it may work out better for you to just kind of have your bag touching the cookie and smoothing out the icing a little bit as you go. The technique of lifting is really important when you're outlining, but we'll can kind of poke around here and use the tip of our bag to even out our icing a little bit. Now once again, I'm going to pick this up, and this time I'll dip it in the sprinkles, kind of move it around to get it even. And that makes a nice, pretty outline and going to help us prevent overflowing our cookies. So we'll put those aside for a minute and let them dry, and then we'll move on with our decorating technique.